Yeah. All all right, everybody. This is Clint Arthur, and welcome to the greatest show of all time, right here on 77 WABC Radio in New York City. Yeah, hey, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And those of you who are listening here, you've made it. You're not only survivors, but you're thrivers. That's why and how you live in New York City. And if you are an author, a speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur, or an expert of any kind, it's time to pop the champagne and celebrate. Yes, celebrate, because you found the one and only show dedicated exclusively to helping you be seen, be heard, and be wanted. That's right, so that you can be more and do more and have more. And today we have with us a gentleman who has a lot more than most people. He's done a lot more than most people. He is being a lot more than most people. He's being America's top cybersecurity expert. He's being a top computer cloud specialist. He is being a computer expert, cyber expert, like most people would aspire to, who are IT guys. And he is the CEO of TOS C3 Corporation. Mr. Greg Hanna, thank you so much for joining me on the greatest show of all time.
Thanks for having me, Clint. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great. We got this interview. I've been trying to get this interview for quite a while, and I got you. And I want you to tell everybody how you became the guy when it comes to computers and tech for so many big law firms and municipalities all around the country.
Well, I owe it all to my dad when he introduced me to slide rules, paper tape readers, and disk packs the size of washing machines, mainframe computers, and green bar paper. Clint, I have seen it all. You know, my dad was an electrical engineer, and he worked in major aerospace defense companies like Raytheon, Litton, and Sperry Rand. He even had patents. Now, he was a brilliant guy. So anyway, my dad morphed into a career in the very earliest days of the microcomputer industry when I was like 5 years old. And I remember him taking me to the major electronics trade show right in New York City. It was at this huge convention center. It was the biggest thing I had ever seen in my life. And you know, that trip was punctuated by a glorious stay at our cousins who lived right off of exit 14 in Newark, New Jersey. And they had a chair that converted into a bed. I mean, if you want to talk about blowing a kid's mind, you know, if the trade show with 10 million computers wasn't enough, that chair turning into a bed sure did it. You know, I was always fascinated by this stuff, especially when my dad would take me with him to his office. Now, I remember he built one of the very first microcomputers, and that thing used cassette tapes to record the data. And these cassette tapes were made out of metal. And, you know, the last time you saw a cassette, it was made out of thin plastic, right? You know, like the Doobie Brothers, you know. This was a metal tape to record the data. And, you know, I remember him taking to install these things at his client's office. And this was state of the art, cutting edge. I mean, this is back in the days when he'd take me to some of these clients and they would have these giant mainframe computers. And he would type all kinds of codes and stuff onto punch cards and to put them into a card reader and to push some buttons. And you know what would happen? Boom! I mean, this giant printer would start crunching and crunching and crunching. And when it was all done, there would be this huge printout with a picture of Snoopy and the Red Baron just for me.
Oh.
You know, it was awesome. It showed off the power of that computer technology. You know, but Clint, you know, technology has really come a long way. I mean, even though we've been obsessed with shrinking things and making them smaller and smaller and smaller, today we're at a point where everything is basically invisible. And most of what I deal with, it takes place in the cloud or over the internet. And a lot of my practice is helping clients and companies come over the threat of cyber terrorism and specifically ransomware.
Wow, cyber terrorism is so scary. I think it was Warren Buffett who said that it is more dangerous to humanity than nuclear war.
It was Warren Buffett. You know, in fact, Warren Buffett is one of the people that I use in a campaign to help me work with municipalities because he's such a recognized celebrity CEO, you know, that people take notice and listen to him.
And who are some of these cyber terrorists? I mean, are they really just are they little geeks like these Antifa geeks, or what are they?
You know, they're like the cyber brigade that Kim Jong-un, has out there. There's like 9,000 of them. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's going on with all of these crazy people. But, what I really wanted to talk to you about is tell you a little bit about my background on why I'm so focused on being a great entrepreneur and why I'm so driven. And, it's because of my dad. I mean, he was an amazing guy. I loved him so much. I still think about him so much all the time. But, let me tell you, when I was a kid, he bought me this little Cox airplane, and I have it. I've got to find it. I just moved. I got to get it out, and because this thing means so much to me. I got that when I was like 11. He bought that for me. And if you can remember what that was, it was a motorized propeller plane that was attached to a rope, a tether, and you'd stand in the yard and you would hold that tether and you would fly the plane, and it would fly in a circle around you determined by the length of that rope. And I was really excited when he got me that, because we were going to fly that plane, 2 days later on Monday, then on Columbus Day. And, before Columbus Day, my dad was out in the yard, on Sunday, working in the yard, seeding the backyards, putting the seed out. And I was just hanging out with him. And, when all the work was done, we went inside and had a nice cold cut supper upstairs and watched The King and I with Yul Brynner on TV. Now, that was in the days, believe it or not, when there was no Netflix. So you'd have to sit through the commercial after commercial after commercial to watch the good parts. And the next morning I woke up and I was all excited. I couldn't wait to fly that plane. And I ran downstairs and my grandmother was there. And that just was not a usual occurrence. And my grandmother said that my dad was sick, and we went to the hospital, and my dad was speaking with very labored words. It was difficult for him to speak, and it was really difficult for me to see him that way. And, soon after that, my dad died just 2 weeks before my 12th birthday. And he was only 39, and he had a brain aneurysm. And it really upset me all throughout my 30s. I mean, as a young married guy with a young family, I was always worried, I'd go get scanned. Am I okay? Am I okay? And all throughout my 30s, I took all these scans, and the doctor said, look, you're okay. But I got to tell you, Clint, that feeling of losing your dad, that feeling of everything could just come to an end like that without notice, that feeling has really guided my entire life. I mean, throughout everything I've done and all my decisions, it's like every day is precious to me. Every day is precious. To me, I'm very fortunate. You've met Lynn, she's a beautiful wife. We've been together over 35 years, and we have a beautiful daughter and a son-in-law, and they have a daughter of their own now. So I'm a grandfather. You believe that or not? And every single day, I thank God for the lifestyle that I've been able to create for my family as an entrepreneur, running my own technology company and delivering to my clients the good life through the magic of technology. I've been loving technology, as I told you, way back since the Apple II days, and before that, with the mainframes and the green bar paper. I've been into computers ever since then, and I can't tell you, I love most about computers is that they really deliver for me what I believe life is really all about. Being able to live more efficiently, to get more done, to do things faster, be more mobile, so that you can enjoy the precious time that you have on this earth without being mired down by all of those details that a well-functioning computer system can just handle for you.
Yeah, and also having the ability to do the work that you were put on this earth to really do. And for a lot of professional people, I know a lot of the clients you work with do very high-priced, high-powered work. And the work they do is important. Not everybody loves every lawyer, but a lot of these lawyers out there are doing work that is saving lives or getting justice or making it possible for corporations to be protected, to protect their intellectual property, or to have the contracts that they require in order to be able to service their clients. So having the right technology to be able to make all that happen and not having to fight with technology or not having or losing your data, oh my goodness, or having it stolen or shut down by these armies of terrorist thugs. I've heard some of them are just out there wreaking havoc on people and businesses and lives just because it's fun.
It's really true. And I know for a fact that I've been put here to do something special. And 2 times so close. When I was 17, you know, amazing situation. I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever told you the story. When I was 17, you know, as I told you, my dad was gone. My mom worked really hard. She raised my sister and I. So she wasn't around much. She was always working. So we used to hang out at the monastery where we went to church on Sundays. And they had a giant estate in Brookline, Massachusetts. You know, must be 50 acres right in the middle of the city. It was an incredible place. And I used to love to cut down trees with one of the monks there. So they had built this big truck with a I-beam and big welded hooks and giant cable running down to drag the tree onto the truck after we cut it down. So anyway, we went out one day, we cut down the tree. I was about 17 and he was cutting it up into sections and then, you know, put the cable around it, turned on the winch. I was in the back of the truck, standing on the bed near the cab window, and he was dragging that thing up on the truck with the winch. All of a sudden, from nowhere, I don't know what it was, dude. I don't know if it was the hand of God or a spirit. I have no idea, but I felt something throw me to my knees. And in that instant that happened, I heard a gunshot. It just cracked. And, you know, I was like, what was that? And I stood up, and one of those eye hooks, you know, that held that cable, it snapped right off and went right through the back of the window in the cab, through the windshield, and it stuck into a cement wall that was right in front of the truck. And I'll tell you what, I would not be here talking to you right now because I don't think I'd have a head if I hadn't felt that force push me down. Now, fast forward 23 years. Now, I'm in my 40s now, and I'm down in Philadelphia with my wife. That's where her family's from. And I had my M5. We drove down there. We had them all in the car. We pulled out in front of a restaurant on it wasn't that busy street. It wasn't too busy. And there was a movie theater across. Anyway, I opened my door, and I got out, and I felt something push me up against the car, and this woman just like brushed by the back of my pant legs and jammed right into my door. And that door was stuck way open. We couldn't close it. We couldn't do anything with that. Okay, so the first part of the story is I didn't get crushed by the car. Second part of the story is right across the street was a BMW dealership. It was pouring rain out. We walk over there, and you know, we drove the car over, we walk over there, and out of the blue, some guy with a trench coat just shows up. There was nobody there. He just shows up. He says, you know, can I help you? And we're like, well, yeah, somebody hit our car and it bent the door, and we got to drive to Boston tomorrow. You know, I don't know. He said, well, let me take a look at it. Now, myself, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, we had pushed and tried. Okay, the guy walks over to the door, and I swear, he barely touches it. And he closes the door. And then he said, anything else? I said, no, that's it. Thank you. And I talked to Lynn for a couple seconds. We turned around and he was gone. So again, I don't know what that was, but I was awfully grateful that it happened.
Wow. Yeah. That's a very cool story. I don't know if I ever told you this story of how I got my wife to tell me that she loved me, or maybe even to fall in love with me. We were in New Orleans for her 40th birthday. And I said to her on her birthday, I said, I want you to know I love you. And she goes, that's nice.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said. That's nice. And I'm like, oh, damn. So we're in New Orleans and we walk by a voodoo store. And I'm like, wow, wait right here. And I go inside and I'm like, do you have any love potions? And they're like, nah, man, we don't have no love potions. I went to like 9 voodoo shops all around New Orleans. And finally I found, we're walking by the last one at the top of Bourbon Street. And I go in and I go, do you have any love potions? And the lady behind the counter goes, you should talk to Mo Daddy. And I'm like, who's that? And she goes, that guy right over there. And I go I go over to this guy, Mo Daddy, black as black could be, right? With like old teeth, gray hair, skinny. And I go, hey, I'm looking for a love potion. He goes, you want a love potion? I got love potion number 9. Like, all right. He goes, it's $20. And I'm like, okay. And Allie's like, hey, maybe you should negotiate with him. And I'm like, no, I'm not negotiating with him. I gave him $20, right? And he goes, come, and he goes, all right. And I go, what do you do? What do I do? He goes, you take a drop and you put it on your wrist, and you put a drop on her wrist, and you rub them wrists together until it gets hot. I'm like, all right. And he goes, come here. And he takes us both outside to the street. And there in the window of the shop is a little Polaroid picture. And on the Polaroid picture, written in red nail polish, it says, Mo Daddy, Prince of Love, right? So I rub the stuff on her hands, on her wrist. I rub it on my wrist until it gets hot. And then I kiss her. And then when we broke the kiss, I opened my eyes and Mo Daddy was gone.
Whoa.
Just like your guy in the trench coat.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I know you've met a lot of really famous people. I know like Robert Hershkovich. He's a top cyber expert also. Tell us about what you learned from that guy.
Robert, man, I met him in Nashville, and I had the privilege of being able to hang out in a giant suite with him and maybe half a dozen people, for a few hours. And I said, hey, Robert, what drives you? And he told me every day some little punk's getting up, getting ready to kick my ass. And I said, who are those little punks? Well, to answer your question from earlier, we know for a fact that Kim Jong-un has an entire brigade of those little punks whose entire job is to wreak havoc and extort money out of you and ruin your business and your life. That's their whole job. There are 9,000 of them in North Korea, and they're the cyber brigade. It's a well-known fact that the number 1 target is wealthy businessmen in the United States. And my question, Clint, were you aware of that?
I just figure, like, to me, there's just all these bad guys out there. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they look like. I thought they were more like, like you see in the movies, like lone wolves.
With the hoodie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kim Jong-un's group in North Korea, that's number 1. Number 2, we got China.
China.
If you don't think there's an entire covert squad of elite cyber hackers operating in China doing nothing but taking out ventures on rich capitalist pigs like you and me, then you're fooling yourself. Number 3, we've got Russia and the Ukraine. Anybody there who's got a modem and a computer and they're trying to get their piece of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or whatever they can extort out of us, and if they don't get it, they're going to destroy your life. And then number 4, we just got those young punks who are out there surfing the net, setting up ransomware as a business service. They buy on the dark web for a few bucks, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a week, wreaking havoc like a bunch of vandals with spray cans, in the subways and back alleys of any city in the US, just out there vandalizing, wreaking havoc just for the fun of it. And I want to ask you and your viewers if it would be a serious problem if you got hacked, and it would be damaged if you couldn't get into your computers, if they didn't work, if you couldn't access your records, your billing, your payroll, your invoices, your contracts, your supplier database, or your orders. I mean, think about that. Would that be inconvenient or catastrophic for you?
100%. I remember like 2 times when we were going up to Boston for events we did at the Harvard Club of Boston. 2 times it happened. We were on the plane. The first year it happened, Allie's like, my computer can't start. My computer can't start. And like something happened with the motherboard of her computer and it was just black screen. And then 2 years later, the same exact thing on the same exact flight happened.
Oh,
I remembered how scary it was, but thank God we live our lives in the cloud. And thank God I know you and I've been a person in the cloud for quite a while now. So yeah,
yeah.
it's really,
Smart man.
really scary.
Smart man. Well, Robert's buddy on Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran, when I met her, what she had to say to me is that attitude was everything and that people are everything. I don't know about you, but I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs all the time. And I know you do too, because a lot of them are my friends that are your clients. And I deal with business owners all the time. And one of the biggest gripes they have is whoever they're using to do their IT, whether they have them in-house or outsourced, is that those people have them by the short hairs and aren't afraid to twist. And they've got crappy attitudes. They'll do anything that they want on their time. They just want to get paid, and that's it, on their timetable. And they'll do your stuff when they get around to it. Not when you want them to get around to it, but when they do. And most of the entrepreneurs, that we know are intimidated by technology. They don't want to get ruffled the feathers of the IT guys because it's hard enough to find a guy who can do tech and speak English, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
And that's what a lot of people love about us is that we speak tech and we can speak English, So I'd love to have the opportunity, to talk to any of these people out there that have IT, have a problem with their people, who aren't getting what they want done and need to have done and aren't getting their goals met because they're using technology just like paper and pencil, but not to its fullest, right? No effectiveness, no efficiency. They're not using it to generate revenue. They're not using it to increase market share. They're not using it as a competitive advantage. And one of the biggest things that I bring with my entrepreneurial spirit and my business acumen is that I help my clients turn IT into a strategic, tactical weapon where it becomes a profit center and not a cost center. And we do it with not just the technology itself, but by some of the tools and services that I offer them. They use it in their marketing, saying, hey, if you do your legal work with us or your accounting work with us or your banking work with us, our service has the highest risk of not getting your data stolen or exfiltrated because it's backed by Lloyd's of London to $1 million that it won't happen. So don't go with law firm A or CPA A or bank A. Go with us because it's better. Your data is safer here and they're making more money. It's helping them increase their top line revenue.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That $1 million guarantee of yours backed by Lloyd's of London is one of the things that I admire most about the work you do. And I don't know anybody else who's doing that or has that kind of guarantee behind them. So you must be pretty damn good. You've told us about Robert Hershkovitz and Barbara Corcoran. Those are two of the sharks on Shark Tank. I happen to know that you have met a third shark.
I have. And it was Damon John. And he talked how his entire career had been about grinding it out and working hard. And I know you can relate to that. You're the hardest working guy I know next to our president. And I'm sure all of your listeners, can relate to that as well. I know myself, I work really, really hard in my business, and most of the smart people I know who are wealthy work really, really hard. If they're self-made, wealthy person, business owner, entrepreneur, they're working really, really hard. And what I've found in my life, in my career, is that by working hard on what I'm great at is where I get the most leverage. When I'm working hard on stuff that I'm not really great at, that's where I'm really not getting value out of myself. I'm kind of wasting my time. And that's why I hire coaches and consultants. I know that my strength is in cyber technology, cybersecurity and counterterrorism tactics, and that's what I'm great at. Okay, but my strengths are in those areas. When it came to speaking, I hired a coach, happened to be Clint Arthur. And when it came to marketing, I have a consultant. And when it comes to servicing my BMW M6, I don't try to do it myself, because I never put it back together. I send it to the experts because I know that's what they're focused on. And as hard as I work, I owe it to myself to focus my efforts and what I work on what I'm great at with my skills and abilities. And, you know, give you an example. You've been over to my house, it's a beautiful place. And when I bought that, you
Big,
know,
big, beautiful place.
big, beautiful place. I didn't inspect it myself, believe it or not. I hired a professional home inspector. He went down the basement, up on the roof, and crawled around the attic because that was their expertise, not mine. It's one of the reasons why a lot of my clients outsource their IT and cybersecurity and technology to me and my team so that they can focus on law or CPA business or manufacturing or whatever that they do. You know, and another really touching thing that you can relate to, and me too, as a good family guy, that Damon John said is that it's really important to him as his family and spending time with his daughters and his wife. And, you know, it's another reason why, as hard as all of us are working, we owe it to ourselves to grind on what we're great at, to use Damon John's words, you know, to be grinding as hard as you can, but only in the areas of expertise, not in everything. Anything you're not a subject matter expert in, anything you're not a world beater in, you should be outsourcing that to free up your time and attention so that you can grind on the things that you can grind the best on. And you can focus on the things that are the most important to you, be that your family or your friends or whatever it happens to be.
Fantastic. Let's go. I know you met a lot of really cool people. What did you learn from Ice-T? He's another really awesome one.
Ice-T was amazing. I met him a few months ago. We were speakers at another conference together, you know, and Ice said something to me that was really, really smart. He goes, you know, don't expect anybody to wake up with your dream. And that's really pertinent to a lot of us entrepreneurs because, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got a dream. And I know that's what gives me so much power and what's a big contributor to the massive success that I've experienced, especially over the last 10 years, is my dream. You see, my dream fueled my ability to buy that big house and to have nice cars and take vacations and to fly on a private plane to Houston to pick up my little puppy who I love so much, you know, because my dream is an igniter of my passion. And I'm super passionate about what I do. And that's why, as you said, I'm the only person in the world who offers a $1 million guarantee that you cannot get hacked by ransomware, and you will not lose time to ransomware, and a $1 million guarantee that you won't lose time to cyber terrorism. And my $1 million guarantee is backed by Lloyd's of London. You know, Lloyd's of London isn't going to insure my service if they didn't know I was awesome, because they ain't doing it to pay out millions of dollars in guarantee claims. They're doing it because they have a belief that there's a very low likelihood that my claim will ever have to be paid out on.
Hey, when we were speaking together at Carnegie Hall here in New York City, Martha Stewart was another one of those speakers, and I know you had some private time with her. What did you learn from Martha Stewart?
Now, Martha Stewart was pretty amazing. You know, I had an opportunity to be in her dressing room and have a few minutes of private time with her, and it was pretty incredible what she had to say. She said, you know, you can do anything if you have the right drive and passion and belief. You know, you can do anything, anything at all. And we can accomplish it if you're consistent. You know, consistency, you talk about that a lot, that it's critical to be consistent. And, you know, given the statistics of all the people that are getting hacked out in the world, the municipalities, the government organizations, the law firms, the giant corporations, Experian, Target, Costco, all of these places that are being hacked, you'd think that it would be foolhardy of me to offer a $1 million guarantee that you can't get hacked by ransomware. But like Martha said, if you're diligent and persistent and hardworking and all those things she said, you know, anything is possible. And I really do believe that. For all of my clients who follow my prescription for cyber safety, it's possible for them to make their life secure, to make your business unstoppable, to make your life livable in such a way where you're not being terrorized by all those little punks who are out there trying to figure out how to make your life miserable. And why? You know, Clint, because of my passion and my persistence, my knowledge and my skills, and my willingness to put it all on the line to protect you, because I know that if it comes down to it, and you go to turn on your computer, and you get one of those screens on the laptop or the server, and you get one of those ransomware pictures, I know the devastation that that can cause. I know how it can take an entire life's work and send it all up into flames. And I know it is possible for me to keep that from happening to you.
My guest today has been Greg Hanna, CEO of Toss C3, top cyber expert, most passionate cyber expert I know, as you could hear. And if you are interested in more information, Greg, how can they find out more about having you help them and protect them with your $1 million guarantee?
Just call me at 888-884-TOSS. So 888-884-8677.
All right. And you have a website too, I would imagine.
I certainly do. It's www.tossc3.com.
Hey, thanks so much for taking your time to be with us here today and for being such a great friend of the show. And we will be back. We will be back, everybody. Sunday night, 9:30 p.m., right here on 77 WABC. I'm Clint Arthur, and thank you so much for listening and watching the greatest show of all time. Good night, everybody.